They loved each other deeply, but not at the same time. One was always early, the other was always late. And between them stood something invisible, silent, and unforgiving, time. They met on an ordinary day, the kind of day no one remembers. Yet for them, it became unforgettable. Their eyes met, their hearts recognized something familiar, and in that moment, love quietly began its journey. Time stood still for just a second, as if it wanted to watch what they would do with the gift it had given them. At first, time was generous. Long conversations felt short, hours slipped away like minutes. Every message, every smile, every shared silence felt endless. They believed love alone was enough. They believed time would always wait for them. But time never waits. He loved her, but he thought there would be more days to say it. She loved him, but she waited for the perfect moment to show it. Time watched silently as, later, replaced, now, as, someday, replaced, today. Love was present, but action was delayed. Days turned into months. Moments became memories before they were fully lived. The space between them grew, not because love faded, but because time kept moving while they stood still. Time doesn't argue. It doesn't warn loudly. It simply moves forward, carrying opportunities away. One day, they realized something painful. Love that is not expressed on time begins to feel like absence. Care that is postponed feels like neglect. Time had taken their small chances, the missed calls, the unsent messages, the postponed meetings, and turned them into regret. They learned that time is the true test of love. Not the grand promises, but the timely presence. Not the future plans, but the moments lived now. Love needs time, but more importantly, it needs respect for time. When they finally understood the value of time, it was no longer as kind as before. It had taught its lesson. Love doesn't die because hearts stop feeling. Love fades when time stops being honored. Time is not the enemy of love. It is its greatest proof. Love that arrives on time heals. Love that is delayed hurts. And love that understands time becomes timeless. Love never begins loudly. It starts quietly, almost unnoticed, in the presence of time. Time stands there from the very first glance, watching two hearts move closer without realizing how precious each second is. It does not interrupt, does not interfere, it simply observes. Every smile shared, every pause in conversation, every heartbeat that races when hands almost touch is recorded by time without judgment. Time becomes the silent witness to love's smallest moments. It sees the way one waits for a message, counting minutes that feel like hours. It notices how a single moment together can erase an entire day of exhaustion. Time understands love before lovers do, because it knows that these moments will never return in the same form again. Lovers think they will remember everything, but time knows memory fades while moments disappear forever. As love grows, time continues to watch patiently. It watches promises being made without deadlines. It watches feelings being assumed instead of expressed. It listens when silence replaces words and notices when presence becomes rare. Time never complains, but it never forgets. Every delayed apology, every postponed meeting, every unspoken feeling is stored quietly in its memory. Time sees love tested not by distance alone, but by attention. It observes how love thrives when time is given freely and how it weakens when time is treated casually. A few neglected moments can outweigh years of affection. Time notices the imbalance when one heart waits while the other assumes waiting is harmless. Even in happiness, time remains a witness. It watches laughter echo in rooms that will one day feel empty. It records joy knowing it is temporary, not to take it away, but to remind how valuable it is. Lovers believe moments like these will last forever, but time knows forever is made only of present moments. When love begins to crack, time does not announce it. It simply continues forward, watching missed chances slip behind. It sees love trying to survive on memories instead of moments. It watches hearts holding on to what once was instead of nurturing what still is. Time never takes sides. It doesn't favor the one who loves more or waits longer. It only measures what was done and what was not. In every love story, time stands quietly in the background, witnessing everything, waiting to show whether love was lived fully or merely felt silently. Love often arrives on time, but people rarely meet it with the same urgency. It waits patiently inside the heart, hoping for the right moment to be chosen. Time watches as love is postponed, as feelings are held back in the name of fear, pride, or uncertainty. Waiting begins to feel safe, but time knows that waiting always has a price. He waited because he wanted to be ready. She waited because she wanted certainty. Between them, love stayed quiet, growing heavier with every unspoken word. Time counted the days they could have spent together, the conversations that never happened, the emotions that were never shared. Waiting felt harmless, but time was moving, carrying those moments away. Delayed love slowly changes its shape. What begins as excitement turns into longing. Longing turns into doubt. Doubt quietly becomes distance. Time observes how delay creates space where closeness once lived. Love does not disappear suddenly, it fades gently when it is asked to wait too long. Time shows no mercy to hesitation. A delayed, "I miss you," loses its warmth. A late apology loses its healing power. Words spoken after the moment has passed sound different, even when they are sincere. Time understands that emotions are fragile, and when they are not met in the moment they are felt, they begin to weaken. Waiting also teaches love impatience. One heart waits while the other assumes patience has no limit. Time watches the imbalance grow. The one who waits begins to feel invisible. The one who delays begins to feel secure, unaware that time is slowly shifting the weight of the relationship. Love delayed creates regret before anyone realizes it. Time does not erase feelings, but it dulls them. The excitement of early love becomes exhaustion when waiting feels endless. Time records every chance that could have strengthened love but was ignored in favor of comfort or fear. When love finally speaks after too much waiting, time has already changed the listener. Hearts that waited too long learn to protect themselves. They listen differently, feel cautiously, and trust less deeply. Time never needed to break love, it simply allowed delay to do the work quietly. Waiting may feel like patience, but time knows the difference. Patience nurtures love, while delay starves it. Love needs courage in the present, not promises of the future. Time continues forward, carrying with it the truth that love asked to wait is love slowly being tested. Relationships are not defined by years or labels, but by moments that arrive without warning and ask to be lived fully. Time brings these moments quietly, placing them between two people like fragile gifts. Love is tested not in grand declarations, but in small, ordinary moments that seem insignificant until they pass. A single moment can change everything. A hand held when words fail. A message sent at the right time. A presence felt when absence would have been easier. Time watches closely as these moments appear and disappear. It knows that love grows strongest in these brief spaces where choice matters most. Moments define how love feels, not how long it lasts. Time observes how a few sincere moments can outweigh countless empty hours. A shared silence can mean more than endless conversations. A timely gesture can heal wounds that words cannot touch. Love is shaped by what happens when it matters, not by what is promised later. Time also notices the moments that are missed. The call not returned, the glance ignored, the chance to listen that was replaced by distraction. These moments do not vanish quietly. They leave behind a subtle emptiness that slowly settles into the relationship. Love begins to feel uncertain when important moments pass unnoticed. Every relationship carries invisible turning points. Time sees them clearly, even when lovers do not. The moment someone chooses pride over honesty. The moment comfort replaces effort. The moment love is assumed instead of nurtured. These moments do not end love instantly, but they begin to change its direction. Moments reveal priorities. Time watches who shows up when it is difficult, not just when it is easy. Love is defined by presence during discomfort, patience during misunderstanding, and care during vulnerability. A relationship becomes deeper or weaker depending on how these moments are handled. Time understands that moments cannot be replayed. Once they pass, they become memories, and memories are only reflections, never replacements. Love that relies on memories instead of creating new moments slowly loses its warmth. Relationships survive not on what once happened, but on what continues to happen. Moments ask for awareness. They require attention, courage, and timing. Time offers them once, without guarantee of return. Love that recognizes these moments and steps into them grows stronger, while love that hesitates watches them slip away, leaving behind questions that time alone cannot answer. Regret does not arrive suddenly. It grows quietly in the space where time was once available but left unused. Love feels its weight only after moments have passed and cannot be recovered. Time moves forward, and regret follows behind, reminding hearts of what could have been done when there was still a chance. Time offers opportunities gently. It presents moments to speak, to act, to care, and to choose love over hesitation. When these moments are ignored, time does not return them. It simply continues, leaving behind a subtle ache that slowly becomes regret. Love begins to replay scenes in the mind, searching for alternate outcomes that no longer exist. Regret often sounds like silence. The words that stayed inside. The emotions that were hidden to avoid vulnerability. Time watches as love chooses safety over honesty, unaware that safety today can become pain tomorrow. Missed time transforms unspoken feelings into questions that have no answers. Love feels regret most deeply when it realizes that intention is not enough. Caring without showing, loving without acting, waiting without moving forward all create distance. Time records these choices without emotion, yet their impact is felt intensely later. Regret is born when love understands that the moment it needed has already passed. Time also turns small neglects into heavy realizations. A few minutes not given become hours of absence. A delayed response becomes a lasting memory of being ignored. Love remembers not the excuses, but the feeling of being left alone in a moment that mattered. Time allows these feelings to settle and grow. Regret does not always come from loss. Sometimes it exists within ongoing love. Time watches couples stay together while quietly carrying the weight of missed chances. The regret of not listening earlier, not understanding sooner, not valuing time when it was freely available. Love learns too late that time was the most generous gift it received. Once gone, it cannot be replaced with apologies or explanations. Regret is time's echo, repeating what love failed to do when it mattered. Time never intended to hurt love, but it never protected love from its own hesitation. Regret lives in the awareness that love had moments to choose differently. Time continues forward, carrying lessons carved from missed chances, while love looks back at the moments it once believed would always be there. Love often hides behind the word someday. Someday I will say it. Someday I will show it. Someday I will make time. Time listens to these promises quietly, knowing that someday is not a place on its path. Love that lives in the future forgets that time only exists in the present. Learning to love on time means choosing now over later. It means speaking when the feeling is alive, not when it has cooled. Time watches as love becomes real through action, not intention. A timely message can mean more than a perfect speech delivered too late. Love grows when it is expressed in the moment it is felt. Time teaches love urgency without fear. Loving on time does not mean rushing, it means recognizing when a moment matters. Time presents windows that open briefly, asking for courage and presence. Love that steps into these moments strengthens trust and deepens connection. Loving on time also means listening when it is uncomfortable. Time notices when love chooses attention over distraction. Being present when someone needs understanding creates a bond that cannot be replaced later. Time values presence more than promises. Learning this lesson often comes after loss or distance. Time allows love to see what hesitation cost. Love begins to understand that showing up consistently matters more than dramatic gestures. Small, timely acts of care become the foundation of lasting connection. Time also teaches that love is a practice, not a feeling waiting for perfection. Loving on time means choosing effort even on ordinary days. It means prioritizing connection before convenience. Time watches as love becomes stronger when it is woven into daily moments instead of saved for special occasions. When love learns to act on time, regret loses its power. Time still moves forward, but love moves with it instead of against it. Love becomes attentive, aware, and responsive to the present moment. The future stops being a place for delayed affection and becomes a continuation of what is already being lived now. Loving on time transforms relationships into living stories instead of unfinished plans. Time offers moments again and again, and love learns to meet them fully, understanding that the greatest proof of love is not how deeply it is felt, but how faithfully it is lived in the moment.